Which leads me to the last part of the first half of today's event, a panel discussion where we build a dialogue about concrete measures for promoting employment among the spouses. This panel discussion will be facilitated by Mark Curcher. Mark is a senior lecturer and a program director at Tampere University of Applied Sciences. He described himself as, you can take a boy out of London, but you can't take London out of a boy. So he's truly British. Yes, I shared this fact about you. He had several job opportunities to choose from, and he unconditionally chose Finland to come to due to its excellent educational system. In the past, he has lived and worked in Dubai, where he was exposed to a highly diverse and international environment, the kind of environment he wishes to see in Finland as well. Mark said that he is extremely passionate about learning and education, and not a day has passed by that he didn't learn something new. And we hope that today is no exception. Welcome on the stage, the panel discussion moderator, Mark Curcher.
Okay, right, so, hello, good morning, or good afternoon, sorry, everybody. So it's also my pleasure to introduce the panel to you. So I'll start with Melanie, being as she has just spoken, and been following up on some of the things that she had to say from Supercell. I'm also really honoured to welcome Hannah, who's going to join our panel, and there's Mina somewhere. There she is. Welcome, Mina. And what I'm going to do is actually ask them just to say a few words about themselves, to introduce you to them, climbing down the stairs. And is Amin here? Yes, he is. Okay, good. Excellent. Right, I'm also aware that we're quite considerably behind schedule, but I won't make the mistake that the Brits normally do when that's the case, which is just speak a lot faster. So if I start doing that, somebody give me a signal. I want to clarify as well something that Julia said. It was about my accent. No, I actually don't feel at all British. I've lived away from Britain since '95, but it's the accent you can't take out of a boy. So it's my Stend accent that you get, not Britishness. Anyway, thank you to our panel. And what I'd like to do, perhaps, Amin, if you could start, introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, and we'll work along the line that way. I've got another microphone here for you. There you go.
Thank you. My name is Amin, and I'm from Pakistan. I moved to Finland about 4 years ago with my spouse. She's Finnish. We moved here from Dubai. We had been living there for 6 years. And I now work at Troll VFX as a CG supervisor.
Hi, I'm Minna. In my daily job, I work in international clinical research, but I'm here today to present some of the results of my thesis that I did a couple of years ago at Aalto University. It's about the factors affecting the satisfaction and adjustment of the foreign worker spouses in Finland.
I don't know which one to use. So my name is Hanna Rinne. So I work in this Tampere 3 project as an HR project director, and I used to work in this Tampere University of Technology. But in HR, so actually I haven't never lived abroad. I have worked in international companies, so we have been planning to move several times with my husband, but there has been anyway changes in the plans. So I'm eager to know how to get these international talents, and it was nice to hear about this also, this internal view. It's not only about this external view.
Hi.
What do you say now? Yeah,
Still here.
Okay, so I think we know Melanie then. So first of all, can you give them a warm round of applause? Thank you. Okay, so as you heard, I work in education, so I guess there's a part of me that naturally wants to start with the literature, particularly as we've already heard from Daniel and from Melanie, kind of the practical side of things. So, Mina, if I could start with you with a question. Your thesis was about this very topic. So what did your research tell us? What was the key points that came out of your thesis when looking at international talents and moving to Finland?
Well, actually, I saw a lot of connection points to the speakers of today. So in general, it's all the little things, not the biggest ones, as the many speakers today told. And if we talk about this job aspect of the spouses, then according to literature, you can divide the adjustment into three kind of areas. And one is the personal cultural factors, then the interactional, and then the organizational. And obviously, you miss the third one if you don't have the job, but that's not necessarily the most important for everyone. Some of the spouses are here not for the job, they just need something meaningful to do. But for those who it is important, then it might be the most important thing, because that also helps in interactional adjustment and getting to know the culture and things like that. So they are all connected to each other.
Okay, so what were the kind of recommendations that came out of your thesis, if there were to businesses, in terms of the things that they should actually be doing?
Yeah, well, there were concrete examples, like already before the relocation, the spouses expected that they are involved, and also regarding this job aspect, not only the cultural issues, and actually to have a feeling that they are also being cared of, not only the worker who is going to move, but to include the whole family. And then when they are here, concrete measures helping them to network, getting to know people, local people, and also other expatriate spouses. And one thing you could do is to give just information about entrepreneurship, about voluntary work, about how to apply to real jobs, organize events, and I saw really good examples from Supercell, but unfortunately there are many companies who don't do any of those. So just any kind to get the spouses to network with each other. There is always someone who knows about something, and you keep meeting people.
Okay, thank you. Now, there's clearly then connections between your recommendations and the work at Supercell, for example, that you're actually doing, Melanie. Where did the driver for that come from within Supercell? I mean, was it recognised within the company before you joined, or was it actually the fact that you were an expatriate spouse coming in that you had these ideas? So what were the drivers for change there?
I think what I've heard is that before I started, we had a couple of families leave because the spouses weren't happy. I don't know the details. One was an American family, and I think she had a hard time settling in, but I don't know more than that. And the other family were from Singapore, and I think they wanted to start a family. So, yeah, I don't think it's always should be counted as a failure if people move home, because sometimes you can't compete with stuff like family issues or so on. But yeah, now I try and encourage people to have babies in Finland because it's the best place in the world. But I think and it works. But yeah, I think it was a recognition then from Ilkka that, hey, what are we actually doing to support these families? And we're really lucky that we have a CEO that thinks that way, and that we have the resources to have a position who is mainly set up for that role.
Okay, so if you're told from Supercell to go home and make babies, it's actually that they want you to stay and not go away. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to bring you in now. Your experience then, you're coming here with, I think I was right in saying, a Finnish spouse. Could you say a few words about that experience? How was that for you in terms of adapting and settling into the country?
Yeah, we decided to move to Finland because we wanted to start a family, and my spouse wasn't that happy in Dubai, so she decided we'll come to Finland. And we agreed that if I can't get my career going the way it was, we won't stay in Finland and we'll go back. So with that thought, we came to Finland, and before coming here, I got in touch with a lot of companies and a lot of people individually, and I asked them for guidance. And I was very lucky to find a lot of people who were willing to share a lot of things about what to expect from the industry, what to get. And because of that information, as soon as I came to Finland and got my permit to work, within 2 weeks I found a job, and I was able to get, I think my career got better compared to before, but it was due to the fact that I was exposed to the information. Everybody guided me about how to work with my portfolio to cater to Finnish needs, what to expect, what not to expect, and not to have any unreasonable expectations. So that definitely helped, but there was no place that I could go to get that particular information. I had to actually contact people personally, individuals, but they were kind enough to share that information.
Okay. So I think what I'm seeing here is actually almost kind of different sets of needs, or maybe there's similar needs, but when one of the people in the couple is Finnish, obviously some of that tacit knowledge, the hidden knowledge, if you will, is embedded in the person who is Finnish and knows the culture, whereas in the case where both partners are moving and one is coming to take a job, then the situation is probably more stressful. Would you say that's fair?
Yes, because when my wife came here, she immediately found a job. And for me, it's been like I've never been without a job. I'm a workaholic and I love to work. So it was a little bit difficult, I think, just while waiting for my residence permit. It was really stressful. And for her, it was easy because she knew the culture, she knew everything, and she was trying to guide me about, okay, this is not the Finnish way. You can't just show up to a company and ask to talk to people, which was fine somewhere else. And that emails, like I started sending emails and stuff. It took a while for response, and so that was a bit stressful, but I was very confident that the Finnish industry is quite strong right now, and Finland is quite a developed country, so I didn't feel that insecure and that I would be able to find something.
Okay, thank you. Hannah there, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to ask you then, in terms of, particularly with T3, with the 3 universities coming together, what's the sort of strategic vision, or is there a strategic vision being formed indeed that is looking for international talent, and what are the kind of the processes going on? What's the vision with return in terms of international hiring and recruitment?
I would say that there's a lot of discussion about this international hiring and international talents, and because we see that when we are 3, even though these 2 universities are merging, but in a way we are 3, so we can do a lot of that kind of things that we couldn't do alone because we didn't have enough resources. So I would say that I see a lot of excitement, and in those working groups, whether it's about HR groups or groups about what to do with the young people that come to study, or how do we do research or education or whatever. There's always this how do we connect with other countries and these international talents and what we do, what we have here. And actually it was really nice to, I haven't thought so much about these internal issues, that we could really use that as also to create a more, the culture, what we want to have in Tampere 3. We could utilize already those international people that we have on board. But it's also this board, this new board is discussing a lot about this. I would say that is top of those 3 things that they are discussing. So. And of course, we have got this excellent, Marek also is guiding this international HR group in this Tampere 3, and a lot of new ideas, and also this talent boost and hidden gems. This is definitely a really nice project. So I'm looking for those results that we can utilize them in the future.
Okay. Thank you. So if we were to look to the future, what kind of international setting or scenario, let's use that word, scenario are you looking for? Are you looking for people who move to Finland and come to live as immigrants within T3, this is? Or are you looking for people to come kind of as temporary researchers for a particular project for a particular period of time? What's the vision there? Because I think that also impacts a lot how foreigners, if you will, look, approach, what kind of even foreigners would approach applying for positions.
Actually, I would say both, because in the area of research, of course, that the professors and so on, they have already done that. They have these international networks, and they are utilizing that. And actually, that's I would say that the most important recruitment channel, the network that those professors have, because they know. That you could get an interesting job here, what kind of research equipment you get here, and so on. So they are the best marketing guys. So definitely that networking and these partnerships, and you come here and then you leave and then you come again and you are visiting professor. That's one aspect. But of course, I would like to have more also these people staying in here, and it not only in the research side, but also education, and I would say also the support stuff. It would be nice because it's the language issues. I know that the official language in the new university is Finnish, but we should have the services available also in English, because otherwise, and also to have these international talents also in that kind of positions where they can lead the new universities and so on. So I would say that both.
Okay, thank you. Melanie, how important is attitudes of spouses in terms of their integration and comfort and feeling happy within the new environment? How important is attitude?
I would say it's probably one of the most important factors. People constantly surprise me. People who have never had a passport before and have had to get one to come for the job interview, who live in large houses. We had a family who have both grown up on the same street their whole life and then got married and moved into another house on the same street and left behind horses and birds and so many things. I really thought, I don't know how they'll do. They've done amazing because their attitude, they've just embraced the difference and the change. Those who find it harder, I think, are those who constantly compare it to home and are measuring up and they fall short a little. They find it more difficult. So I think, attitude and seeing positives and keeping going, because it is quite hard work, I think, when you first arrive. Like, it takes quite a lot of energy because the things you do at home without thinking suddenly require thinking. So using the washing machine and trying to interpret the instructions, or you can't just run into the supermarket and quickly get something and go because you can't understand the signs above the aisle. So you have to walk up and down to find. So it just takes energy. It's tiring, but if you have the right attitude just to keep going each day, it gets easier and easier. Yeah, so I'd say it's one of the most important things.
Okay. I mean, did you have experiences of that? I'll pass you my microphone. In terms of energy and attitude, what were your comments on that?
When I came to Finland, I had done some research about Finland and everything, and I was really interested in the nature. I love the nature. You can go to a lake, you can take a walk in the forest. And then I started meeting up with the locals, and they started introducing me to things that they like about Finland, and like ice fishing and all of going to cabins and sauna. So these were things that I was really interested in. And one really good advice that I got from a friend was that when you go to a foreign country, when you want to live, you have to first see what the locals do to have fun. And if you don't do that, you're never going to adapt to that country, because you're always going to be in the same mindset of how the things that you did back home, and you won't be able to do that. So I looked around, and they told me about saunas and public saunas and dipping in the frozen lake. And so it was a little bit difficult in the beginning to try it, but now it's like I'm pushing my company, like, hey, we need to go to the sauna, we need to go in the... So I think it's you really need to see what the locals do and what they enjoy, and you have to open up to it and realize that there's a reason they do that particular thing. It's because of the climate or whatever, but you'll adjust better if you start doing that.
Okay. Can I ask you a very direct question now? Have you come across any resistance in organisations that you've worked in to having overseas worker? The idea that you've taken a Finnish job?
No, not at all. The organization I work in, Troll Visual Effects, they have given me a really good position. I'm in a leading position right now, and everybody there is a Finn. I'm the only foreigner, but we do get foreigners from abroad for short periods of time, and everybody accommodates me by English because they know my Finnish is not that strong during meetings and everything. And then they also take care that I don't feel like an outsider. So they take me to saunas. When I first came, they introduced me to mustamakara and all of the local things. And in terms of that, I've never faced any problems. I feel that the only thing lacking is my own Finnish language skills, which if I develop, then there's absolutely no difference.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask Mina, in your research, did that come up at all? Was there ever any of your subjects or participants saying anything about kind of actually meeting resistance to having foreign workers or foreigners within the country?
No, not at all. I interviewed 17 spouses and 3 actual workers, and everyone had really good idea of the Finnish people in general after some time, of course, because we don't talk at first. But exactly what Melanie said, that also in my research, I noticed that the attitude of the person is the most important factor, and the other personal aspects, because you can't force a person to do or be something. So it's you have to have that kind of attitude yourself. And exactly those who were best or very good adjusted, they explained exactly as you do, that they tried even the most strangest things just to get to know into their culture, and were willing to try. And for example, that you don't talk to the people next in line in a cafe, they said, well, okay, they don't talk, but I will talk. So kind of just try out and see what happens and have an open attitude. So I think that was the key message, just that you can change Finnish, but just your own attitude. Give it a try.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm thinking back to how the day started with our Mad Ventures guys. And I mean, they use the jumping off the cliff for the idea of a Finnish business hiring foreigners. But as we also saw with the fireside chat, it's the same. It's jumping off the edge of a building for a family. I mean, when I came here 5 years ago, I arrived with a wife and 2 children in much the same way. And it's a journey. I mean, luckily there were no cannibals and welcoming ceremony like the Mad Ventures one. Or if there was, it went past me over my head. But yeah, it is about having that attitude and being willing to kind of get involved. And I think one of the things that I really like with Supercell is kind of making it easy to connect with other people going through the same thing. It seems to me the human connection part is kind of the crucial part here. It doesn't... Melanie, I really liked in Supercell that it's not incredibly complex and sophisticated activities. It's maybe often the very simple ones that can be most effective, yeah? So it doesn't necessarily mean huge resources, though I can see what you say, Hannah, when you merge and then have a third university there as well. You've got more resources available and hopefully more people to form those groups. I just want to, before we close, because we are already late, any questions at all from the panel? You've got a range of people here, from the academic who studied the subject, a spouse coming in married to a Finn, international expatriates who've come here to live and now, in the case of Melody, working in onboarding. So other questions, comments, observations from the audience? And don't be shy. Thank you. Do you want to shout out loud?
Hi, my name is Camila. I moved here from Denmark. Before I lived in Uzbekistan, so I kind of the Nordic move. The first part of the session was about, pushing boundaries on individual level, going to the corporate driving, and the second was for the country. So is it really the individual perception of being in a new culture, or is it also the Finnish approach, the community-based approach to diversity and accepting people who are not like yourself? So where is the balance? I'm still trying to find that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the question about that balance between the individual attitude of the people coming in and then the general Finnish attitude and business attitude to coming here. Does anybody want to? Volunteers on the panel?
Yeah. I think there should be a same kind of balance, because when I moved here, I had a really good attitude towards Finland. I really loved it, the nature and the culture and everything. But I never felt like I tried to be part of the community, but it was very difficult because I couldn't find a way. And the two things happened that really made me feel part of the community. One was that I got a letter from City of Tampere that I can vote in the municipal elections. That really made me feel like part of the community, and I felt like my opinion mattered and they cared about it. And the second was I got contacted by Business Tampere or Talent Tampere, and that they asked me to come meet them and talk to them, and that also included me in a group where they were interested in my opinions and views. So I think it's like a balance. You need that. These two events happened, that we decided to buy a house in Finland because we wanted to just stay here for. So I think it's important to have that. Yeah.
Anybody else want to comment on that balance at all? Over the panel?
I was just only thinking about that there should be a balance, but I agree that it's more like this individual attitude currently, but I think that it's just changing it. So, because if I see my kids, I mean the youngsters, they are totally, I wouldn't say totally different. They know how to queue and so on, but anyway, so they have been always connected internationally. So I think it's changing, it's in a good way. So, and they are more open. So, and actually, even this week I was really surprised. I was in a bus and there was a lot of empty spaces, and a Finnish guy came to sit next to me and said that I want to sit here and start discussing. So we had a good discussion.
So that's any researchers in the audience, that could become a metric for integration in Finland. Just sit quietly on the corner of buses watching if people sit in empty seats or next to each other. I will take a question. I just wanted to comment on Amin's comment about election. That I had the same experience, the ability to vote in a local election, and as a Brit who wasn't allowed to vote on Brexit because I'd lived abroad for more than 15 years, I thought, like, wow, the passport I hold, don't let me vote, the government don't let me vote on something that directly affects my future. But Finland is letting me have a say in the country that I've just come to and has adopted me. So it kind of, I actually really understand what you mean. It may seem a small thing, like, again, to a Finn, you take that for granted. And it's well, no, you know. So I do identify. I think we had a question there. Yeah.
Yes. Hi. I'm still Kirsi from the University of Helsinki, still working in HR. I agree fully that individual attitudes are what make a huge difference when you come into a country. But obviously, the opportunities offered by the country also play a huge role. No matter how positive you are, if there are no opportunities for you, you are banging your head against a brick wall. Now, I represent the employee side, and we're always trying to find ways to, we in HR who flag the international flag, are always trying to find ways to open up and create opportunities for non-Finns as well. There's still very much this attitude within with the employee sector that, ooh, they don't speak fluent Finnish, however will they manage? Do you have any ideas how we might break that ice barrier a bit, melt it with a blowtorch or a hairdryer even, or maybe matches that eventually will get there, that Finnish employers aren't so aren't clinging to the language thing so badly, because it's very much an attitude thing, in my perspective. Any ideas?
I was thinking that it's the attitude that we have to, I mean, inside the companies or organizations, really ask again, is it really needed that you have a fluent Finnish skill, or is it that, okay, it's English is enough? And I would say that probably the answer is usually that the English is enough. So it's the attitude that we have to change. So we have to constantly keep on asking, is it really needed? And also, because I recognize if I think about when I was a young girl and we were studying English at school, it was all about grammar. That do you put the sentences, are they correct? It's not that do you survive, but of course we have this rally English in Finland, so it's a good that okay, the Kimi Räikkönen can survive and so on. So I think it's more about those attitudes that people that are not used to use English, they're afraid that okay, I'm not a fluent speaker, so let's stay in Finnish. So we really have to encourage that, and I think that. Well, again, that when we get more about these young people, they don't have that kind of fear that, okay, it wasn't proper English.
I noticed when I was looking for work when I first arrived, and I brought this up recently, I don't know if it's still the case, but that a lot of Finnish companies require, even for very entry-level jobs, like a university degree or higher. It's not that common in other countries where tertiary education is very expensive for people to have completed a master's or so on. So I think it's really important, and I hope that some companies would hire for experience, or like at Supercell we also hire a lot on culture fit. At least in my background was working with people in prison, a lot of it was around personality, can you work with people, can you handle certain situations, and the rest you could learn. So I would hope that some Finnish companies would look at people's ability to transfer skills from what they've done previously to roles that they might not have the exact university degree that fits exactly, but that people would see that some things you can learn, but if you have the basics, you can learn the rest.
Thank you. I think that's a really, really important point, actually. I forgot that about qualifications.
Yeah, I wanted to add on that every place that I got interviewed, I worked in 2 places in Finland so far, and they only care about your personality, if you're going to fit with the company personality, and they also care about if you can do the job. And with language, it has never been the main priority for them. They have always been accommodating that, okay, you can learn Finnish, or we can help you learn Finnish. But as long as you're getting the job done and you're not aggressive person and you can fit with the same kind of humor that we have in the office, then that has been more important for them. And I think most of these places that I worked with, they have worked with international talent before, so that's why they have that kind of attitude.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the language issue is important, though, and it shouldn't be ignored. I've been here 5 years, and I really don't speak any Finnish, so you can throw things at me, I guess. But I mean, my work environment is all English, and that's what I was employed to do. But one of the things is, I'm also old. I mean, I'm British, because we don't do languages in Britain. I mean, really. I mean, I didn't even learn French or German at school when I was at school. The Brits are not encouraged to learn foreign languages. Now, that's why they voted for Brexit, I guess. And also, I'm old, and old dogs and new tricks. But one of the things, even if I try and make an effort to learn some Finnish, and this is a point I'm getting to, I could get so I could go into a cafe or restaurant and order things and kind of maybe eventually find things in a supermarket and so on. But I couldn't actually take part in a discussion at work about teacher education, because that is another level of vocabulary and technical expertise that is beyond what you would get from just learning the language. And therefore, if we want to have people working from abroad in organisations, and English isn't the the language. It's going to be extremely challenging, even if they studied language full time, to get to the level required for Finnish in the subject area, if you see what I mean. Lady just behind there, you had a question as well. Yeah.
I'm Suvi Karkas from Laura University of Applied Sciences from Espoo, and I would like to give this kind of information. I'm working in different projects, and one of these just began, and it's is for the SMEs who have a product or a prototype of something that they would like to sell abroad, and we are helping them to have contacts, international contacts. And here with exchange students and other Laura students, we are putting people together in the workshops and in the seminars, and also looking for example, spouses to give their and immigrants, everyone from different origins, to give their knowledge about cultural things or digital, because it's with the digital tools. Because these SMEs need help with, for example, to do a website or something for their or promotion for their products. And this just started like a few weeks ago, and the first seminar is in May 20th. I don't have any brochures, but
okay.
This is exactly an event that a spouse would like to come and share. I come, and these workshops, for example, we're going to have students and this SME and also this cultural or digital person who have this knowledge.
So if you sent the details of that to Marika, and then she could circulate it to all the people that are here, that would be a way that could be circulated. Yes. Question at the back there, gentlemen. Yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Ahmed. I'm a heart surgeon living in Finland for a while. And if I describe the tone of the speakers here, that they're talking about Finland as a best place to live, the most happy country, there is good reception for talent, and I agree totally with that. But on the other side, when I hear Laura talking about migration and talking about declining and talent leak, that it's, the overall percentage is leaking, and I feel a kind of contradiction here. And my question, are we missing something here? And if we are looking as an overall to improve the statistics or the numbers, we have to find out this gap or the contradiction and the reason how to improve that. And I'm not sure if this is a question, but it's an observation. And the question that, are we missing something here?
Okay. So it's really about basically I think you're worried about a brain drain with people leaving the countries. Am I understanding you right? Yeah? Yeah, Laura? Do you want to come and join us, Laura? Okay, welcome to the stage.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there are several reasons for that, but one of them is that we have had very difficult economic situation where we have had high unemployment, not only with immigrants, but for everyone. So that's probably one of the reasons that people just need to leave, because they don't have jobs here. But hopefully the situation is now turning better, and in a couple of years we will see if it shows in the statistics as well. But definitely we still have a lot of things to do here, and there are already very, very good initiatives and all the projects, like you were talking about this Laura's project, that is one of the Talent Boost projects among the hidden gems in universities here. So I think that if we kind of coordinate things better, if we unite the forces, now we are doing bits and pieces everywhere, but if, like with companies who are interested in these things, and see the value in this, and cities and the state all work together, I think that then we can really find valuable solutions that make an impact.
And this isn't data, this is an anecdote. As somebody who's now lived and worked overseas for a long time, I don't think Finland needs to worry too much about the people it leaves, because every Finn I've ever met overseas always talks about going home. No, really, and we've seen with your wife wanting to come back. If you talk to Brits, they talk about where they're going next. And I'm serious, it's not a joke. So my British colleagues in Dubai would talk about, after Dubai, shall it be Shanghai or Hong Kong, or maybe KL? Finns will talk about going back to Finland. And the same, like, if I were to leave Finland now, it's not to go home. It's like there's no desire to go back to Britain. It's like, where next? Shanghai for an adventure or wherever. So I think there is some maybe light there as well, that some of those people on that graph that are leaving maybe just will get international experience, which will be valuable, and then come home. And maybe they'll come home with a foreign spouse as well. We don't know. It depends whether they've been told to go home and make babies by their company. There's a question at the back, sir. Yes?
Yeah, thank you. My name's Graham Burns. I'm a corporate communications consultant, basically, which means I spent half my life teaching English. But I'm also an avid interculturalist, and I want to bring up a point which links into what you've just been saying. These youngsters, particularly youngsters, highly educated youngsters, that leave the country in their thousands every year to go and seek a better life, for example. And yes, you're right, they all talk about coming home at some point. But a huge majority of them do not. They spend all their adult lives working on the other side of the world, for example. And then when they retire, they think, let's go home. Because home is a beautiful place. I had a great childhood there, throwing myself in the local pond and running around the forest. It was great. But when they come home, they bring home a load of baggage, because home is never home again. Once you leave, it's never home again. And quite often, those repatriates face the same, if not harder, problems than we do as expatriates. And that's just something that we need to keep in mind as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a valuable insight. Thank you very much for that. Have we got time for another couple of questions? One more? Two more? One?
Just one more.
One. Okay. Lady at the front. I saw you first.
Very short one. Not sure whom to ask. Did anyone measure the flexibility of the Finnish employer on hiring non-Finnish speaker?
Did that come into your work at all, Mina? How flexible?
No, because my thesis was about the spouses adjustment, because that is the biggest factor affecting to the workers' adjustment, and if he will or she will do the job well and stay eventually. So I don't know about the employer's point of view.
Because somehow it feels like there are two parts. Something happens in Helsinki where the opportunities are a bit bigger, and something else happens in Tampere and another cities. And something happens in the IT area and another area.
Yeah, it totally depends the field of expertise of the company, I think, and if they work internationally or if the customers are local or so. We do ask these as part of company surveys, but what companies usually say that it doesn't really matter for them where the person comes from, as long as she or he has the talent and expertise that they need. But so they might not really even understand the question. So kind of we need to show what's the added value of international experience for the company that might be actually bigger than the lack of knowing Finnish. That you would even gain something more than if you hire someone who speaks fluent Finnish. But it's difficult, of course, because if you think about international talent or international experience, that's much more than a language skill or cultural knowledge. It's whole mindset. And that's actually only opened with companies if you talk face to face with company and if you show examples from other companies that how they have benefited from that. So yeah, we do ask that, but I don't know if we get good answers because they don't understand the question, maybe.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much to our panel, to all of you for your contributions. Thank you for joining the panel at the last minute.
Thank you very much to all your attention. Can I please have just 2 minutes of your time still before the break? Thank you. So I think today the world has become just a little bit better, don't you think? We heard such amazing stories, and I have the confidence that we can make this change happen step by step, not overnight. But perhaps if we all take the lessons learned from this room today and go back to our lives, our jobs, and our families, and try to integrate this new knowledge to our environments, to our families and lives, perhaps we're going to make it a little bit better for ourselves and somebody else, for those who just come to Finland or the ones that have already established their lives here. Let's aim for that.